morning. I did my case on Vietnam. I will be going over the 4 revolutions of government, population, economic integration, and technology. Vietnam is one of the last communist nations in the world, or one of the last remaining communist nations in the world. It is ruled by a single party, the Communist Party of Vietnam. Elections are held every 5 years, and every citizen who's over the age of 18 is allowed to vote. However, even though voting is allowed, you cannot really label the elections truly democratic because every candidate who runs for office has to be first chosen and vetted by the VFF, which is an umbrella organization of the Communist Party. All the media outlets like television, radio, and newspapers are controlled by the government. The internet, however, has been very hard for the country to control, and they have been increasing their censorship and the use of firewalls on the internet. The Constitution of Vietnam, which was adopted in 2013, it states that citizens have the right of freedom of speech and freedom of press. However, their penal code states that they are not allowed to use that right to speak against the government. So in a sense, there is no real freedom of speech or right. And many bloggers who have posted things on the internet against their country are being prosecuted and arrested according to the penal code. All things are not so bad in Vietnam though. They have 90 million residents. They are the 14th largest nation in the world. They have been very good at keeping their population rate very low. It was estimated that it would shoot up to like 110 by now, and it's actually been a lot lower than anticipated. Through 1999 to 2000, they kept the growth rate between 1.14 to 1.2%. They have also been very effective in reducing poverty among the residents. Poverty used to affect 60% of the population, absolute poverty, and now it only affects 10% of the population. There's also a very big working class population within Vietnam, and because they have such a big working class, they have entered into a state called the golden population structure. This structure means that there's only one dependent for every 2 working people. And this type of structure can be a blessing or a burden for the country. If the government is able to provide enough employment opportunities for their working class, then they will be able to boost their economy and boost their wealth. But if they don't provide enough employment, then there will be high employment in the country, and the working class will actually become a burden upon the nation and not a blessing. After the Vietnam War, the country's economy was very similar to that of the Soviet Union. It was a closed socialist economy. After 10 years of failure, the government initiated the Dao Moi reforms, which kind of shifted the economy from a closed economy to an open, market-oriented economy. They lifted barriers on trade for exports and imports, and they also became more involved with international communities. They joined the ASEAN, and they also healed relationships between the United States and China. They used to be their former enemies, but now they are very important trade partners. Vietnam has been shifting from a rural society to a mixture of both rural and urban. They now have 755 cities, and 35% of the population reside in urban dwellers. Because of this big shift towards the cities, there have been a lot of issues arisen about infrastructure in the cities and urban poverty. Because of these issues, the Vietnam government joined up with the World Bank to implement the urban upgrading project. This project focused upon areas such as roads, sanitation, and water supply, and they were able to enhance the lives of over 2.5 poor city dwellers. When people think about Vietnam exports, they probably think about rice and beans, but Vietnam has a lot more high-tech ambitions in mind. They actually want to become the next Silicon Valley, and the #1 high-tech export nation. Many of the high-tech giants like Intel, Samsung, and Nokia have brought their operations to Vietnam because of the low manufacturing labor costs. Education, however, is a big bottleneck and hindrance that keeps them from accomplishing their goal to become a high-tech nation. Only 1.1 to 2% of university revenue is allocated to research and development. And the manpower is there, they have a big working class, but the skill level and education simply is not. And when many of these even college students come to work for like Intel or Nokia or Samsung, the skill level isn't there even though they went to college, and the companies have to invest money training them, and that's not very ideal for the companies. In conclusion, Vietnam is a nation in transition. It has made great progress in the areas of population, economic integration, and technology, but it still adheres to a communist regime, and there's a lot of oppression still of freedoms in Vietnam. Development is not complete, and it will probably take a few more decades to reach a truly developed nation.
Excellent.